see what I have in store for you today. I am going to be chatting with a new friend of mine, and she is, I am sure, going to blow your mind with some of the things she's going to share with us. So I'm waiting for her to join us. She's going to come on in. Let me just, there we go. I'm waving at her, and all she has to do is, yeah, she's coming. She's coming on the stage. Here we go. All right. Let's see. We're waiting for her, and she's going to be joining us and sharing some of her wisdom with us. Here she is. Hi there. Hi there. It's so nice to meet you. I'm so delighted to have a chance to chat with you right now.
I know, me too. Actually, I feel like we have a lot to talk about because we went through your recipe book yesterday, and my kids said it was literally one of the best oatmeals they've had. And we eat oatmeal every week, so it was like kid approved.
Good. If it's kid approved, then you know it's good.
That's right. So yeah, well, thanks for having me on. And for hosting me, and I'm really excited for us to get to know each other and also talk about the phenomenal bundle that we're in together, and maybe talk a little bit about some of the health benefits of oats. And I know I wasn't supposed to be in the kitchen, but my kids are out of the house right now, and they're going to come home hungry, so I thought I would make lunch, and I'm making waffles out of oats. Cool. So I can show you what I made from the bundle too.
Cool. Excellent. Guess what I had for breakfast this morning?
Oats.
Waffles made out of oats.
Did you have, okay, which one?
I did.
Which?
Well, I actually, the recipe is not in my ebook. My ebook is mostly oatmeal bowls, but I have a recipe that I've altered. You know how you do that when you're an experienced cook? You tend to take a recipe and then run with it. So I did that, and the original recipe was from one of Rip Esselstyn's very first books, and I just took it and just sort of made it my own. Added some extra seasonings to it, some flavorings. I added some baking powder to it, and it's delicious. It's
amazing.
It's yummy. So yeah, so that's what, it's so funny that you are made the same or making the same thing for breakfast.
Yeah. So, well, why don't you introduce yourself? I mean, I know a little bit about you from going through your book, but I'd love to hear your version of it.
Sure. I would love to share it. I think it's a journey that I hope and I think will inspire others. That's always my hope. I have 2 teaching degrees, so I always have my teaching hat on. So I'm a full-time touring musician.
Nice.
That's what I do full-time. And my main focus is I write songs for children, and they're primarily used in Jewish settings. So in synagogues and in religious schools and in worship services for little kids. I do adult stuff too, but that's what I've been doing since I was, graduated from college. In 2011, I got really, really interested in health. And I decided at the time, I was going through a life transition, and I decided at the time to take advantage of it and try something different. So I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I got a certification as a health coach. And I started health coaching people who really were mostly interested in gluten-free. That was my main focus. I had been diagnosed with celiac in 2005 initially because I was losing my hair. I have alopecia, and that's how it started. So in a crazy way, I kind of have alopecia to thank for putting me into this journey. On this journey. And anyway, so I started with the health coaching school, and I started experimenting with veganism. But I have to say, if I had to be totally honest, it wasn't completely junk food vegan, because I'm not like that, but it was not fully whole food plant-based. That wasn't on my radar screen yet. And then my sister, I think maybe is on here. My sister had 2 heart issues, and she ended up having stents put in. And she called me when she was healing, during the process of learning what meds to take. And she said, "Okay, Miss Smarty Pants, what do I do?" Because she knew I was in the middle of this health coaching program. Yeah, she just wrote, yeah, her name is, There she is, Faye Weisbaum. And I said, okay, well, go read Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Go read the China Study by Colin Campbell, and, you know, a bunch of other books, and just educate yourself. And she went off the deep end, went completely vegan, totally. And so she really was also helpful for me in learning more about how to do it more whole food, plant-based. So I did that for a few years, and then I met the man of my dreams. And he was an SAD eater, and I just went right over with him, and I started eating that way. And I had indigestion, but I didn't care because I was in love, and it just wasn't on my radar screen. And then in 2019, I started saying, you know what, I got to go back to these roots that I learned at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I started really listening to Chef AJ, to Nutmeg Notebook. I listened to all the people who are now I consider my heroes and my mentors. And I went full boat, full tilt, and I became whole food, plant-based, no oil, gluten-free. And I have not looked back. And I lost 10 pounds. I lost the indigestion. And I just said, man, I need to start teaching people how fabulous this lifestyle is. And that brings me to today. And how about you?
Oh my God, that's amazing. What a journey it's been. That sounds incredible. And I mean, I feel like you went from teaching one language of the soul, which is music, to another language of the soul, which is food, right?
Yes.
And that is so beautiful, because that's how so many of us connect, through music and through food and through stories, which is what we're sharing today. And my journey is a long one, but in a nutshell, I think, like most of us who end up finding our true purpose in life, it starts with some sort of painful situation in our life, similar to what you just shared, especially after a diagnosis of yourself, of a loved one. And so for me, professionally, I'm a triple board certified physician. So lots of kind of background in medicine, internal medicine. I work as a palliative care physician, so I care for the sickest of the sick people. And then my most recent board certification is in lifestyle medicine. That actually didn't come from learning anything about lifestyle or nutrition in med school or residency. The lifestyle medicine piece actually came when I became the patient. So I found out that I carry a genetic mutation, the BRCA1 genetic mutation, when I was 26. So that's almost 10 years ago now. And very, very strong family history of breast and ovarian cancer. My mom's a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and never really thought there was a connection in my family, hereditary or anything like that, until I basically was in residency and then started digging into my family history and was like, wow, okay, there's definitely something going on here. So fast forward, I basically found out I had this genetic mutation. And for me, it was like, okay, yes, I need to get these preventative surgeries. I need to do all of these things, screening, all the things. However, as a palliative care physician who was taking care of some people who were literally in my shoes at the end of life, very young women with breast, ovarian cancer, I needed something to allow me to be in control of my life. Things that I was doing every single day that could potentially reduce my risk of cancer. And so when I brought those things to my doctor, like, what can I do? My breast oncologist, my oncologist, my genetic counselor, everybody was like, well, you have a genetic mutation. Lifestyle doesn't matter. There is nothing you can do. And that's when I started doing my own research, and I found Dr. Michael Greger. I read his book, How Not to Die. I found Dr. Dean Ornish. I found so many of, our heroes, I'm sure mutually, who not only changed my life professionally, but profoundly changed my life personally. So 2015 went vegetarian, 2018 went plant-based, married also to a French Canadian who grew up on meat and potatoes. We slowly made this journey together, and he's essentially whole food plant-based today as well. And we have 2 fully plant-based babies from basically birth. They're 5.5 and 7 today. And my daughter literally just gave me the greatest compliment ever, because I made these cookies yesterday from our bundle, these chocolate chip cookies. and they are out right now going to dance class, and they took these as snacks with them. And my daughter just called me and she's like, Mama, did you buy these? Because they taste like they're store-bought. I was like, okay, all right. So they are not store-bought. I made them yesterday. But yeah, so that's kind of the journey we're on now. I actually ended up becoming, a health and wellness coach and did some culinary coaching certification. So I love to teach people the power of food, not just from the science perspective, but also in the kitchen. How do we make food taste good? I'm all about empowering mothers out there raising children to eat healthier, because everything we're doing today is going to determine their adult onset of disease, their blueprint, all of that. So, I mean, I could keep talking forever, but that's me in a nutshell. So
I could talk to you for hours. I already could tell we're going to be friends. One of the things that I struggle with is I want to stand up on the roof. I want to stand up on the roof and tell people, what are you doing? Why are you going to wait until it's too late and you already have a chronic disease? I mean, it feels to me like it's holding back a dam that's about to break, and people don't realize it. But I know that it's the nature of the beast. People just don't want to hear it and not always, until they're sick.
Yeah, and I think I have that very, very unique perspective. If you thought about like a Venn diagram, right? Like people out there who are living really, really sick, yourself, and then your family member who's been sick. And if you think about a Venn diagram, I'm literally in the middle, because I've been the patient, I've been a family member, and I care for the sickest of the sickest people who tell me their greatest regrets and their wishes every single day. And every single one of them comes down to the most basic needs as human beings, right? Like, I wish I could get out of bed on my own. I wish I could be more independent. I wish I could eat whatever I want to eat. I wish I had more energy to live, And I was sharing this with one of our bundle buddies that I did a live with the other day, is that like modern medicine is phenomenal. I mean, it really is. It's allowed us to extend our lifespan, right? It's allowing us to live longer. Things like feeding tubes and dialysis and ventilators. And I personally am very grateful, because I had this risk-reducing mastectomy and hysterectomy in 2020. So I did end up having the surgeries, radically reduced my risk of cancer. But when you think about the modern medical advances in the setting of chronic illness, so things like I was saying, dialysis, feeding tubes, ventilators, yes, they're extending people's lives, but people they're not alive. They're just existing because of these situations. So they're extending our lifespan, but not our health span. And I hear every single day from these people about how they had wished when they were, younger, they had taken care of their health so that they weren't in these situations. And, yes, disease is a very complex thing. There's a lot of different things that play into, developing a disease. Things like genetics, things like environmental exposures, and things like lifestyle. And most of us believe that our disease is